Hey everyone, it's Conrad Bobilek here, CEO of Investors Prime Real Estate and a best-selling international author of Australian Real Estate Investing Made Simple. Welcome to today's video. Melbourne is about to take off and I'm really excited. I can feel it in my bones, and it's a funny thing because in the 90s, and depending on how old you are, I was doing a business commerce degree at Monash University, wasting my time drinking beer at the tavern. That's a whole other story. But I remember I was very much in tune with the property market. And, Victoria economically was a basket case in the 90s, especially in the late 90s. It was known as the rust bucket state of Australia. It was the worst property market. The gap between Melbourne and Sydney was huge. People were leaving Victoria. Businesses were shutting down, going into Sydney and Brisbane. And then what happened was interest rates started to come down, and then we had the biggest property boom in 2001, 2, and 3. If you remember, interest rates went down substantially, and then what happened was we had growth of 21%, 22%, depending on the suburb, for 2 or 3 years. And then there was a correction. It actually went down a little bit and sideways. And I'll tell you now, I can really sense history is about to repeat itself. And Melbourne's about to enter the next phase of the growth cycle. And there's going to be a massive boom in the property sector. Now, not every suburb is created equally. And today's video is going to show you exactly which areas and suburbs are going to soar in Melbourne by up to 18.4%. And that's independent data from CoreLogic. But I'm also going to share with you real examples of real properties and projects that I've been sourcing specifically in these suburbs. So I'm going to name suburbs. I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for, which areas to focus on, and what kind of properties really work in different suburbs, and also which areas to stay away from, like a Kenny G concert or a P. Diddy after night party. So grab a coffee, grab an energy drink, and welcome to today's video. Now, before we get started, I just want to do a bit of a disclaimer. This is purely for educational purposes only. It's just my opinion. This is not, by all means, financial advice. If you do want to implement any of the strategies, make sure you seek financial independent advice. There's no guarantees, guys, in life. The only guarantee is that if you do nothing, you'll end up dead broke at 65, and that I guarantee you. Let's talk about timing versus interest rates and timing of the market. I've never been a big fan of timing the market. If you've watched my previous YouTube videos, if you've been to my live events, if you've read my books, I always preach, almost like a broken record, it's not timing of the market, it's time in the market. And I always say, don't wait to buy property and wait. And what I mean by that is if you're going to buy 3 properties over 10 years, buy 3 properties in the first year and then wait for 10 years, because the quicker you accumulate assets, the quicker you get the compounding effect. Getting rich in property is a long-term proposition. It's always a 10-year plus plan. When people sell properties after 3 or 4 or 5 years, you can lose money, even in the best suburbs. When you factor in agents' commissions, stamp duty payments, capital gain tax potentially, you can lose hundreds of thousands of dollars very, very quickly in a transaction. But once you double the value of that property, which usually takes about 10 years for the average suburb, then it's very difficult to lose money on property. And property tends to be a very forgiving market, unlike the stock market or the crypto market, which is a bit of a roller coaster ride. Property tends to be forgiving long term, as long as you target the right area in the right way. So I just want to clarify, before we get into the topic at hand, I just want to make sure on the record, I'm not a fan of timing the market, because there are black swan events and things can change dramatically. No one could see COVID-19 coming. No one could see the GFC. And these things massively had an impact on the property market in Melbourne at a micro level and macro level. Now, before I get into the topic, just about myself, my name is Conrad Bobilek. I've got a YouTube channel, obviously, that you're on. I'm a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, and I've got a diploma in financial services, financial planning. But more importantly, I'm a property investor. I've been investing now for a long time. I've built up a massive property portfolio in Melbourne. So I'm on the streets talking to investors, talking to developers, talking to valuers. My background is in banking and finance, and the last 12 years in real estate. So I'm coming to you from a real practical perspective. I'm not a theorist. I'm not an academic. I'm actually someone that's making a lot of money out of property, and also my clients are making an absolute killing. So formal education will make you a living, but personal development will make you a fortune. Always remember that. Now, also, I want to thank you guys for supporting with my books. My books have gone number 1 on Amazon multiple times. So if you want to get a copy of my book, Real Estate Investing Made Simple, jump onto realestateMadeSimple.com.au. You also get a free course as well. And if you want to smash your mortgage in record time, say 7 to 10 years instead of 30 years, grab a coffee, probably need a copy of Australian Property Finance Made Simple that teaches you how to structure your portfolio. But more importantly, it teaches you the mortgage reduction program, how you use offset accounts and lines of credit to pay off your mortgage on your PPR without making any additional repayments. Not many people understand this. It's a real concept, it's a real thing, and we do it all day long with our clients. Also, by just being here today, I'm going to give you access to my online value course valued at $597. It's a few years old now, so about 70% is still relevant. The 30%, which is linked to the market, is obviously outdated. So just bear in mind the market keeps moving and changing. The only consistency is that it changes. By all means, the fundamentals of that course have not changed. It's still the same things. Nothing's really changed in the last 10 years, guys. The same methodology, same suburbs, same approach to property investing. Point Cook is bad and Elwood is good. Nothing changed. Now, let's get into it. Inflation has been the big challenge in the Australian economy, and inflation has created a runaway train in terms of us paying for goods and services. And this is one of the things the government has been trying to gain control of. And usually the only thing they can do is the RBA increases interest rates on the overnight money markets, and hence the banks follow. So the ideal range for the RBA for headline inflation is 2 to 3%. And you can see there since 1988, it's been all over the place for various reasons, mainly government spending, but also escalating costs of fuel, supply chains being disrupted for getting produce into Australia from China. There's a lot of different factors, and I've done a YouTube video on the different driving factors behind inflation. That's not what we're doing today, but I can tell you now, headline inflation and trend mean inflation is down, which is great. So they've managed to really constrain monetary policy to the point where people have stopped spending money, and the cost of living were just escalating out of control. I mean, people were just paying a premium for petrol, food, everyday goods, services, insurance premiums. And now it's starting to come down, which is fantastic. And the forecasting is that inflation is going to stay low, which is great news for everyone. Hyperinflation is a terrible thing and no one wins. So I don't blame the RBA for doing what they're doing. I just blame the Labor Party for overspending and creating a situation, an environment where they were just giving money away for free. And every project they initiated had an inflationary impact on the economy. But literally what's happening, you can see that December 25, inflation is 3.7, and then in June, this is projected inflation is going to be 3.1 and 2.5 in December 26. So it's heading the right way. We're definitely on the right path. And trend mean inflation is inflation without volatility is also under control. December 25, 2.8, projection June 25, 3, December 24, 3.4, and then 2.6 for CPI without the trend mean inflation. So inflation for forecasted and current is under control. It's at that 3% level, which is great, which means we're going to see multiple cuts by the RBA of the bank swap rate, which is fantastic. This is kind of an indication of what has been the biggest driving factors behind inflation. You have services, utilities, rents, and selected goods and other. And really, it's been services and selected goods and getting goods into supermarkets, into shops. That's been one of the biggest challenges for the Australian economy because of the links to fuel and energy prices. Also, Labor's obsession with green energy has created out of control energy prices for the average household in Australia, and we're all paying for it, even though they promised to tackle personal, expenditure and personal cost of living as a policy that they used to win the election. They have failed miserably, and they've done nothing, basically. I would say Albanese is as used as a tits on the bull as a prime minister. It's probably the worst leadership that I've seen in the country in all my life. Penny Wong and Albanese are the worst leaders. It's actually embarrassing that this is the leadership that we have in our country. We've got such great people in our country. It's such a great country to live in. And yet these two idiots are representing us. It's just embarrassing on every level. I can't express that enough. Anyway, enough about politics. We're here to talk about property investing. So rental prices have skyrocketed in Melbourne in key suburbs after COVID-19. Now they've stabilised because capital growth shot up. And with capital growth, it equalises the rental increases because it always kind of reaches an equilibrium of 4.5%. Some suburbs 4.25%, but most suburbs reach an equilibrium of 4.25% with rentals. And now they've stabilised. They're actually coming back a little bit in some suburbs. So the people that have settled properties 3 years ago had a massive increase in rentals, up to 30-40%. And now they're actually coming back a little bit, which is normal because where we are in the property cycle. Australian rate cuts are great for the economy, not so much because the 25 basis point cut that we've had recently by the RBA in February reduced the cash rate from 4.35 to 4.1. It's more about signalling where we're going as a nation. It's about the direction of interest rates. And remember, historically, the RBA never just does one cut. They do a multiple sequence of cuts, but they've got to be comfortable that inflation is not going to be out of control. So they'll gradually cut rates every quarter, every few months, and then see what the impact is on the economy and see what the inflation is doing. But I think gut feeling, without holding me accountable, is we're going to see multiple cuts this year. I reckon 3 or 4, and it could be the next cut could be 25 basis points. It could be 15. The banks share the same kind of sentiment. There's been multiple surveys done in the banking industry that, for example, NAB predicts 5 cuts starting from May, CBA 4 starting from February, Westpac 4 starting from May, ANZ 2 starting from February. No one really knows. There's so many variables. It's just guesstimation, but it is good guesstimation based on historical movements and behavior patterns of the RBA. They've never done one-off cuts. They've multiple cuts over a period of time. The biggest thing, as I mentioned before, it's the consumer sentiment that started to recover as a result of the cuts. And I think a number of things happened this year. Donald Trump winning the election in America, and he's draining the swamp, baby. So he's getting rid of all the inefficiencies in the economy. And look, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump, but I definitely think he's a massive improvement economically to the Biden administration, which was pretty much Weekend at Bernie's. If you've seen that movie, that's what Biden administration was doing, was falling asleep at the wheel at the biggest superpower house of the world, which is unacceptable. Donald Trump at least grabs things and takes control. And that's what really we need. We need strong leadership now. He's not going to make everyone happy, but who cares? He's going to gain control of the economy. That will spill over into the Australian economy indirectly and directly, and change the direction of consumer sentiment. We need consumer sentiment to come back to a positive place where people are spending money and buying investment properties and thinking about the future, not thinking about how to survive till next week and worrying about paying bills and petrol and fuel and insurances. Because that's exactly what's been happening since January. People have been stressed. Even medium to low income earners have been splashed completely. But even high income earners have been looking at budgeting and foregoing large expenses, upgrading cars, holidays, deferring things because of all these external pressures. So we're seeing the end of that. And I think that shift in consumer sentiment is going to have a very positive outcome on the capital growth potential, especially in Melbourne. And there's been a number of, surveys done from CoreLogic and various other companies saying that 65% of agents anticipate house prices will rise, up from 57% in 24 surveys. So consumer sentiment and outlook from agents is very positive. 25% of them expect to exceed 5%, reflecting a 12% increase from last year's prediction. So there's been a lot of surveys done. And, if you look at one of the surveys, for example, from CoreLogic, says that the 2% of the people that were surveyed think that there's going to be a decrease between less than 5%, decrease between 1% and 5%, 10%, steady 23%. 40% believe there's going to be an increase in property prices between 1% and 5%, and then more than 5 by 25. So 65% of people are positive about an increase between 1 and plus 5%, which I think is accurate. I think this year in Melbourne, we're going to see, definitely a turnaround from the negative 4% last year in terms of capital growth to potentially plus 4, 5, 6, 7% for the year. But there's going to be specific suburbs that are going to boom, and they're already starting to sizzle. And that's what I want to make this video about, is show you exactly where to put your money, which areas to target, and what kind of properties you need to target and avoid as well, because there are going to be areas that are going to be decimated. So these is from a CoreLogic RP data, and this is basically a opinion, I guess, from the company about Melbourne's and Sydney's suburbs that are going to gain most from interest rate cuts, which I completely agree with them, because what happens is a lot of the middle class affluent suburbs, people wait for the direction of interest rates before they commit to a mortgage or upgrade their house. And we've already seen this happen. So let me just go straight into it and show you the suburbs, show you where the money is, which is number one is Whitehorse. And I'm going to break down each council by the suburbs that make up these particular council areas. So Whitehorse West, 18.4%. The median price is currently 1.43 million. Decline from the market peak from January 25, negative 6%. Essendon up 18%. These are basically, predictions. And this is modeled from a value change at 1% reduction in cash rate, which I think is going to happen this year, and it's going to happen, if not this year, it's going to happen definitely by next year. Essendon is next. Manningham West, 17.4%. Boroondara, 17.3%. Bayside, 16.4%. Yarra, 16.3%. Glen Eira, 15.6%. Whitehorse East, 15.1%. Monash, 12.9%, and Stonington East, 12.6%. Now, if interest rates go down by 0.5%, you can still half this. Whitehorse West will go down to 9%, 9.5%, which is still a very good result compared to last year, which was negative 4% for Melbourne. So these are the areas that I think are worth targeting right now, because they are moving as we speak. In fact, they've already moved since the beginning of February. So the bottom of the market was really like this part of the cycle, and it's a little dip, was January and December, and the market's already recovered, just so you know. So if you're trying to time the absolute bottom of the market, you kind of missed it already. Now, I'm going to show you the money, and this is something from a movie that has come out over 20 years ago now, which is Jerry Maguire, which is quite sad, because every time I thought it was like 10 years ago, but it's actually not. It's 20, which makes me feel old. Also, if you know these guys, pension is closed, by the way. You're soon going to be a pensioner, which is also sad, because I remember watching the A-Team in the 80s when I was coming home from school, and and it was one of my favorite shows back in the day. Back in the good old 80s. Let me show you the money. Okay, so this is Whitehorse Council. This is where it's located. So remember, the richest suburbs in Melbourne are the eastern suburbs and the Bayside. So it's Toorak and Brighton, and then Hawthorn and Canterbury and all those areas, and then to some extent there's some money in Essendon, but really it's the eastern suburbs and the Bayside. So, let the trend be your friend. Put your money in where the richest people live, because they live wherever they want to live. And if they're all living in one area, it must be something good about it, because they could live in any suburb in Melbourne. That's why, because they're rich. They usually choose areas that are low in crime, good access to the city, transport, infrastructure, schools, hospitals, amenities, etc., etc., etc. So let the trend be your friend. Don't be a pioneer, guys. You know how you can always tell Pioneer in the gold rush? They were the ones facing down in the dirt with arrows in their back. So you want to just go with the trend. That's where the money is. The most successful stock market traders in the world invest in trends, which is momentum trading, basically. So Whitehorse is made up of Mont Albert North, Mont Albert itself, Surrey Hills, great suburb, Burwood. Not a big fan of Burwood or Burwood East. Too many students live there. Box Hill South, fantastic. Box Hill itself, phenomenal. Box Hill City Centre, great. Box Hill North, no problem. Blackburn North, okay. Blackburn itself, fantastic. And Blackburn South, yeah, not bad. Nunawading, Forest Hill, yeah, Vermont South is great, Vermont's great, and Mitcham's fantastic as well. Just got to be careful with high density projects in Mitcham. But these are some of the really good suburbs, and this is like your number one area in terms of if you want the money, if you're chasing the money right now in Melbourne, if you want to invest into blue chip suburbs with potential to explode in the next 2 years, this is the areas to target, full stop. So Blackburn, Blackburn North, Blackburn South, Box Hill North, Box Hill South, Burwood, Burwood East, Forest Hill, Mitcham, Mont Albert North, Nunawading, Surrey Hills, Vermont, and Vermont South. 18.4% potential future growth based on interest rate cuts. Let me show you some examples of Box Hill. I'm a huge fan of Box Hill, love Box Hill. You know, Box Hill is actually always doing better than it should be. I'm always surprised of how well Box Hill does, and it shouldn't do as well as it's doing. Basically, that's my point, because really, there are many suburbs that I think are prettier and more functional and safer than Box Hill, but Box Hill outperforms them. And I don't question that because I don't care. I'm not, people say, why is it so? Well, I don't know. Well, that's the way it's not right. Well, when you get your own planet, rearrange things, but this is how it works. So I source a lot of properties in Box Hill ever since I started the company. This is an example, and they are getting expensive. This is really a 5-bedroom boutique townhouse, 450 square meters of land, 40 squares, huge interior, close to Box Hill Central and Box Hill Station. So you want to be next to the shopping centre, next to the train. It's 25 minutes from the city, and it's in the school zone. You want to be in the school zone in Box Hill. This is like the top end of the properties that I source. It's a duplex. It's 447 square meters for the land. The area for the house is 375 square meters. And you can see there on the ground floor, you've got a double garage. You come in, you've got a bedroom or an office downstairs with an ensuite. There's very popular to have an office downstairs away from the kids and the family area. So you can work there as a mortgage broker, or you can work there and have Zoom meetings and have the sound barrier between you and the living spaces. There's an ensuite, you've got a double garage, then you've got a walk-in laundry, kitchen, open plan living, sliding doors. You've got a pergola, bit of backyard. Then upstairs, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms with en suites and a massive retreat area and a balcony. So it's 5 bedroom, 4 bathroom. It's huge. And you've got 2-car garage, plus potentially you've got off-street car park as well, because you can park in front of your own garage as well. The other one is a mirror image of the previous one. So duplexes are always a mirror image of each other. That probably is $2.9 million, and that's an off-the-plan purchase. Unit 1 and 2 are available, and they will complete in 2026. So you've got about 12 months before they get built. So you get full stamp duty savings, and you got 12 months to take advantage of a rising market. So if you want to park your money somewhere, and you've got a good serviceability, because $3 million is not for everyone's serviceability, you can park your money in a growth trending market. Let me show you something cheaper in Box Hill North. This is 5 minutes drive from Box Hill, which is one of Melbourne's largest premium suburbs. Walking distance to the school zone, huge street frontage to the park, surrounded by parks, school zone as well. And this is where we have a small development site consisting of 5 townhouses. And you can see that once again, really, really good layout. My mouse has just gone a little bit berserk. You can see it's a double garage. You come in, you have open plan living. There's a powder room, a laundry, a proper walk-in laundry with access to the garage. You've got a kitchen island bench top, open plan, and then you've got a bedroom downstairs with an ensuite. Once again, it's a separation of work area and living area. So you've got a Zoom room or an office. Then upstairs, you've got 3 bedrooms, 2 ensuites, and you've got a retreat. And you've got another toilet as well. So you've got 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 4 toilets, 2-car garage. That's a very good property example as well, a little bit cheaper. And look, every townhouse has a slight different configuration. You just got to be careful with the frontage ones. A lot of people like frontage properties. Remember, this land here in the back one is all your private land. It's all your private usable land. Where if you go to the front one, you can see there that this front land is not really usable. Even though you own it, it's on your title, you're not going to have a barbecue in your front lawn with people walking by the street waving to you. So this is still a good configuration, but your usable private land is only at the rear of the townhouse. So you've got a double garage, still you've got a property, you've got a bedroom downstairs with an ensuite, walk-in laundry, and then upstairs you've got 3 bedrooms with a retreat, and you've got a massive oversized bathroom for the master bedroom, plus you've got another ensuite with walk-in robes as well. You can make the master bedroom either this one or that one, or you can share this kind of the oversized ensuite with the 2 bedrooms. It's entirely up to you. That property is 1.55. And you can see there's a number of townhouses in that project, which is 5, and they will complete end of 25. Potentially, they could go into 26. It just depends on developer and market conditions. But that's an average townhouse in Melbourne now. You need 1.5 million. People ring me up at 700,000, 600,000. There's nothing you can buy. Clayton is selling for 1.4 million now. Like St. Albans is selling for 1.1. I mean, there's nothing for $600,000 left that's worthwhile. This is another example in Vermont South, great suburb. Traditionally massive acreages, 6,000, 4,000 square meter blocks. Some of the areas in Vermont South, especially across the road from the shopping centre on Burwood Highway, have been rezoned into higher usage and higher density, and there are apartments being built and townhouses. It's a really good location. In the school zone, in the Vermont Secondary College school zone in Waverley. Once again, very much a bread and butter townhouse. You've got a double garage downstairs. And once again, you've got the bedroom downstairs with a bathroom, which I mentioned before. It's a really good way to separate your working area from your private personal life. You've got a bit of a front yard. Then you have an open plan living, another bedroom with an ensuite and a toilet. And then you've got, laundry, I should say. And you've got open plan living with a balcony. And then upstairs on the second floor, you've got 2 bedrooms with an ensuite as well. So this is another example. Unit 6, you've got very similar configuration, which has a visitor car space as well. They're 1.25. And that's kind of as cheap as you can get at Whitehorse Council, and that's on Burwood Highway, which is not ideal. It's kind of busy, but it's still very good in terms of capital growth potential. They're off the plan, and they'll be completed in mid this year. You also get a 50% stamp duty waive up to $45,000 from the developer. So that's a huge incentive on getting something off the plan in a very good part of Melbourne. The next area is Moonee Valley Council. This is a great area, which is pretty much Essendon and surrounding suburbs. I'm a big fan of Essendon. I think Moonee Ponds has done so well. The cafes and restaurants they're building there, the whole town square and the town centre has been rejuvenated. It's just going really upmarket. There's a lot of money in Essendon and surrounding suburbs, and people want to spend money in their own backyard. There's houses in Essendon and surrounding suburbs selling for, $20 million now, which is great. Big fan of the area. It's made up of Avondale Heights, which I wouldn't touch. Miliara, East Kill, okay. Airport West, not interested. Essendon Fields Airport, don't touch it. Strathmore Heights, forget about it. Keilor Road, Essendon North, okay. Strathmore, yes. Needry, Essendon West, yes. Essendon itself, fantastic. And Moonee Ponds, even better. Essendon's just more houses. Moonee Ponds got all the shops. Flemington's fantastic. Ascot Vale's fantastic. Aberfeldy is also very good. But I would say Moonee Ponds there, Ascot Vale and Flemington are the best suburbs in that cluster. They're really upmarket. Essendon's got Essendon Grammar. That's where you want to be. So if you're going to park your money, definitely I would go to Moonee Ponds. Moonee Ponds has all the cool cafes and restaurants that everyone wants to hang out. There's the river. It's just amazing area. It's really good as a suburb, not even to live in, low crime, great schools, very high income demographics, but also the lifestyles there as well. I don't have anything to show you in Essendon. I've sold out all my projects. There's been a bit of a rush. The developers I'm working with, they are creating new products in the Essendon and Moonee Ponds and Miliara in the next probably 3 or 4 months, maybe around even June. We had a big rush on this area last year, and I'm just waiting for new stock. There are projects available, but nothing that I really like, and I don't need to. For me, it's always quality over quantity, guys. If there's nothing worth buying, sometimes the best thing to do is not to buy anything. Sometimes the best position in the market is not to have a position, you know. So you have these are the suburbs, as I mentioned before. So really good area. Manningham. Okay, so Manningham is great. I'm a fan of Manningham. It's a little bit, it's very green, and it is very suburban. So like Bulleen, not a big fan. Templestowe lower. This is all owner-occupied properties. Doncaster, yes, definitely, because you got Doncaster Shopping Centre, which is the best shopping centre in Melbourne. Not the biggest, just the best, in my opinion. Chatston's too big. I mean, you get a Chatston Shopping Centre, and you leave your car, and it's like 3 kilometres that way. You've got to catch a bus to get to your car. It's just ridiculous. It's half a suburb now. Southland is pretty old now. It's looking tired. Doncaster, they've just spent millions of dollars rejuvenating it. It's the coolest shopping centre in Melbourne. Doncaster East is great also for rental. Templestowe is mainly houses. I wouldn't necessarily go to Templestowe. I don't think anyone wants really a townhouse in Templestowe. Really, you're there kind of to buy a house on an acreage. So, Donvale's the same. I love Donvale, one of my favourite suburbs in Melbourne. Park Orchard's the same. Would I buy a townhouse in Donvale? No. I would buy a house on the 6,000 square metre block. Same with Park Orchards. Warrandyte, yeah, not bad. It's value for money, Warrandyte South. It's still predominantly very urban, suburban, I would say, big blocks. People go there to get away from the city. It's very green, massive backyards. So you just got to pick where you want to be, but especially Doncaster and Doncaster East, not a problem at all. So you can see this is what Manningham Council suburbs are made out of. Bulleen, Doncaster, Doncaster East, Donvale, not avoiding Park Orchards, Ringwood North, Templestowe, Templestowe Lower, Warrandyte South, and Wonga Park. 17.4%. Fantastic returns. Now, this is Doncaster, so very upmarket, very expensive suburb, 25 minutes from the city. In the school zone, this is an example of a duplex. So you've got a double garage, you've got a bedroom downstairs with an ensuite, you've got a kind of studio cinema room, open plan living, and then upstairs you've got another 3-bedroom plus a breakout area. This is really a phenomenal property to buy. 2,095,000, very large property. You're getting 350 square meters of land. The internal itself is 315 square meters and 283 square meters, and they'll be completed at the end of this year, potentially spilling over into next year. Great property. Here's something a little bit cheaper in Doncaster, once again in the school zone. Very much a bread and butter townhouse. This one's unique because he has a rooftop terrace. I'm a huge fan of rooftop terraces. It's something that's kind of new. Well, I mean new, last 10, 15 years. I've seen it in Port Melbourne, Elwood, Richmond, a lot of really cool suburbs, Clifton Hill, places like that, Collingwood, Carlton. So downstairs you have basement, double garage with stairs leading up and a lift. Then you have ground floor open plan living. There's a study nook, which is great. So once again, you got a lift to a study nook so you can do your Zoom calls. There's a toilet there, and there's pretty much open plan living with a courtyard. Then on the first floor, you have the master bedroom with a walk-in robe and ensuite. You've got a lift right there. Then you've got another bathroom, and you've got 2 bedrooms, and you've got a toilet. And then upstairs, you've got a huge rooftop terrace with amazing views. So these are really cool townhouses. There's only 4 in the block. This is in Castle Street in Doncaster. They're 1,085,000. They'll be completed, pardon me, by the end of this year. Third quarter of 2025. It's a great product, architecturally designed. You can just see the bathroom there. I would love to show you I've got 30, 40 artist impressions per project. I'd love to show you all the renders, but I'll be here for 10 hours. But these are very high-end properties. You can see the tiles all the way to the ceiling, architecturally designed, granite bench tops, really good European appliances. It's the lot. This is the budget one in Doncaster East. So high density, still very good configuration. Double garage, bedroom downstairs, ensuite, open plan living on the first floor, and then 2 bedrooms upstairs with a common ensuite. It's a very much you want to have your, 3-bedroom, double lock-up garage, 3-bathroom or 2.5 bathroom in the eastern suburbs. They're very much family areas. People expect larger areas. It's not Richmond. It's not St Kilda West. We're talking about areas where people live in 60 square homes. So you got to kind of match the property to the demographic. And then 950 up to 1.45 million. But you can see that you can get the average one is about 1.5, 1.25, 1.3. And they're quite large, 150 square meters internal. So you get a good land footprint plus a good property. Remember, the bigger the land, the more land tax you're paying. Land tax is a killer in Victoria. It will destroy your capital gain. And your ratio of value of your mortgage repayments versus your rental, so your rental yields are going to be record low. Boroondara Council, big fan of Boroondara, one of my favourite areas in Melbourne. I think everyone would agree. I mean, you get some of the best suburbs in Melbourne. Hawthorn East. Hawthorn is one of the most expensive suburbs in Melbourne. People have spent $50-60 million for houses there. Hawthorn East, Camberwell, Canterbury, Baldwin Q. My God. It's like the Lambo with the Ferrari, with the Bentley. I mean, this is it, guys. This is where the rich are living and working and enjoying life. Surrey Hills, Glen Iris, Ashburton, Bowen North's a little bit cheap, but Bowen proper is good. And Q East, yeah, Q is fantastic though. Q is excellent. 17.3%. So we're talking about Ashburton, Bowen North, Burwood, Camberwell, Canterbury, Dippendy, Glen Iris, Glen Ferry South, and then it just goes to Hawthorn, Q East, Mont Albert, and Surrey Hills. This is Ashburton, a very popular area with the younger crowd. A lot of townhouses. Once again, great properties in the school zone. Downstairs, you have single-car garage with a car space, open plan living. Once again, the bedroom downstairs, which can be in an office. It's got an ensuite and a walk-in robe, open plan living, pergola. Then upstairs, you've got 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. Probably the master will be this one with walk-in robes and ensuite. And then you got a bathroom there for these two and an open plan retreat area. Really good configuration for a duplex, and they're $2.695 million and $2.75 million. Something cheaper in Bowen North. Still your bread and butter townhouse, double garage downstairs. You've got the bedroom, open plan living. You've got a deck, beautiful block of land. So you've got a very nice private courtyard. You can plenty of barbecues and parties to entertain your friends and family. And then upstairs, you've got 3 bedrooms, 2 en-suites, and a balcony. So these ones there, and I get them all day long, are 1.445 million. That's as kind of as low as you can go in Boroondara. You need about 1.2 to 1.5 to really get into a good property. The Bayside, which is where I live, great suburbs, great cluster of suburbs, I would say. You're either into the beach or the trees in Melbourne. So if you're into the trees, you're in kind of, the eastern suburbs. If you like the beach and beaches and cafes and getting a cappuccino and walking your dog down the beach, then this is the area to be. Brighton East, Hampton East, Hyatt, Sandringham, Cheltenham, Blackrock, Balmoral. Brighton is fantastic. It's too expensive to invest in. Your rental yields will be 2%. There are houses in Brighton for $30-40 million. There's no point investing in Brighton. If you can invest there, by the way, invest. I'm just saying the numbers just don't work. Brighton East, the numbers work. It's cheaper than Brighton. You can still get 3-4% rental yields. Hampton's great. Hampton East, yep. Hyatt, not a big fan of. Sandringham, you got to be careful with the housing commission areas in Sandringham. Cheltenham, I wouldn't buy Cheltenham. Blackrock, huge fan of Blackrock. Balmoral, I reckon Balmoral will be one of the best suburbs in Melbourne. I used to live in Bowie. It's a phenomenal suburb, very tightly held. You've got the Lobster Cave there. You've got the concourse shops. It's a very small community of people. They all know each other. My wife and I used to walk on the beach every morning when we were younger and fitter. People say hello to you. It's a very family-orientated area, very big blocks of land. Really, I think one of the top 3-4 potential suburbs in Melbourne in terms of livability and value for money as well, because it's a fraction of Brighton, and you get you can get waterfront properties on Beach Road. If you can get a townhouse in Balmoral and make the numbers work, buy it all day long. It's just one of those areas where I think is phenomenal. So 16.4%. Balmoral, Blackrock, Brighton is Cheltenham. And then you've got Hampton and Hyatt and Sandringham. This is an example of Bentley East, which is kind of just outside the area, but it's still Bentley's kind of, let's call it Bayside. It's kind of on the outside of Bayside, but it's kind of, it's like that, the cousin that's not really related to your family, but you're going to let him in. Let him in. He's kind of part of the family. 1.85 million. Once again, you've got your bedroom downstairs with an ensuite, study, and then you have your powder room, open plan living, kitchen, alfresco, garage, and another car park off the street. And then upstairs, you've got 3 bedrooms and 1 master bedroom with walk-in robes and ensuite, and then you've got a rumpus area, which is a breakout room, and another 2 bedrooms. Great location, great value for money. These ones are 1.85 million for a townhouse. So they're fantastic value for money. And once again, quite large. You're getting 220 square meters of land. So very good value for money. This is also not in the Bayside, it's closer to the city, but this is, just want to highlight a really good project in Port Melbourne, under $1 million. I was really struggling to find something that's really good value for money, that's under $1 million. And really, $1 million is like a minimum price point now to get into Melbourne. I'd love to give you stock for $750. It just doesn't exist, and if it does, it's not worth buying. I think I told you I had a financial planner ring me about 5 years ago and said, I'm looking for Bayside townhouse in Melbourne for $650. And I said, yeah, so am I. If you find some, ring me, I'll buy them all. And he goes, what? I said, you heard me, if you find some, ring me, I'll buy them all. They don't exist. They're $950. So this is North Street in Port Melbourne, one of the best suburbs in Melbourne. These are completed townhouses. They're fully tenanted, and they're completed about 10 years ago. They were held by a developer. Now he's selling them. They've got rooftop terraces overlooking the city. Very, very good configuration right next to Port Melbourne, so you can get up in the morning, walk on the beach. I would say Port Melbourne has some of the best cafes, restaurants in Melbourne. Clarendon Street, especially South Melbourne, which is not far from Port Melbourne, phenomenal. You've got coffee, you've got the beach, you've got the city. It's amazing. This is the rear of the property, so they're quite high. They're 3 levels and rooftop terraces overlooking the city. They're 2 bedrooms, so you have on the ground floor, you've got a single car garage. And then you go upstairs, you've got 2 bedrooms, 2 en-suites. Then on the second floor, you've got open plan living, kitchen, island, bench top. And then upstairs, it's a massive rooftop terrace overlooking the city. So, this is a really good product, $995,000, and they come completed with tenants in place already. So for $1 million right now to get into a property product, this is phenomenal. They're rented as well. So for example, unit number 3 is $999,000 and it's getting $3,259 per month in rent. So you're getting a product that's completed. You can do a 45-day settlement and you get a tenant in place. You don't have to worry about it. If you're starting out in property, guys, Port Melbourne, Albert Park, Middle Park, Elwood, St Kilda West, can't go wrong. That's what I'll be starting my portfolio, and I recommend you do the same, and then diversify to the eastern suburbs. No one's got a crystal ball, except I do, and this is something that has come out a few years ago. Real estate prices are going to boom in the next 20 years. Average homes in Australia will cost $6.3 million in 20 years. A bombshell study has revealed. Predictions show that median prices will reach that figure in Sydney by 2043, up from $1,030,000 today. The Aussie Home Loan and CoreLogic survey predicts the average price will hit $5.8 million in Melbourne, $2.9 million in Canberra, $2.5 million in Perth, and $2.3 million in Brisbane, with the biggest increase in Melbourne. What would you do if you had a time capsule, or time machine, I should say, and you can go back in time to 2025 from 2043 and buy properties in Melbourne for $800,000 to $1 million, where the median price would be 5.8 in 2043? How many would you buy? What would you do to make sure that you get your slice of the pie? Because, guys, you got to understand something. This is going to happen with or without you. It doesn't need your money or your mortgage. The population growth in Melbourne is out of control, and we're not producing any properties, and we've just lost hundreds and hundreds of developers and building companies. We are unable to ever catch up to the demand. And these suburbs are all developed that I'm sourcing in. Like there's no stock anywhere. So, supply and demand one-on-one. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or, as W. Bush Jr. said, rocket surgeon to work this out. Australian impending property boom. The average cost of a home will soar 6.3 million in just 20 years, and Melbourne's going to be the biggest. Remember, this is what's happening in the market, guys, and population growth is driving it. And Labor always opens the gates to Australia because the only way they can manage the economy is they can't manage it properly with a small increase in population. They just allow the migrants to come in and they avoid technical recessions and prop up the economy because migrants come in, skilled migrants, they go straight to work, pay taxes, and that's the reason why we didn't have a recession in Victoria, which we were supposed to have if we did the right thing, which we didn't. It doesn't make sense. I'll delete that later on. Forget I said anything. I was never here. Interesting in learning more? Well, a couple of things, guys, is I'm running a few events this year. I'm not doing as many as I used to because I'm just getting so busy with existing clients that I'm actually taking less and less clients on. And eventually I'm going to stop taking on clients altogether because I've got clients that are buying the 8th, 9th, 10th property, and I'm working with a group of people. I've got about 680 active clients, but within that group, there's about 250 that want to go to 10 properties, and I'm getting more busier than ever. So I'm doing less live events, but if you do want to come to a live event, spend 2 days with myself, Cameron Fisher from Changing Places Real Estate, and Stephen McClutchy from Loans Australia, who's done $1 billion in settlements himself, feel free to jump onto realestatefasttrack.com.au and join me. Tickets are $47. You get a hard copy of my book, which is kind of like the manual for the event, Australian Real Estate Investing Made Simple. Plus, we throw in lunch for 2 days and coffee, but it's more importantly, the information you'll learn there will make sure that when you walk away from the event on Monday morning, or Sunday night, I should say, but Monday morning, you'll be able to start building your property portfolio and build your legacy that will cement your name in your family's history as the person that's going to change the direction of your family. If you come from a wealthy family, it's going to even increase your wealth more. If you come from a poor family, maybe you're the first person to become wealthy in your family. For those who can't make it physically to St Kilda to my office, feel free to just scroll below and jump on my free link to my online video course, which is yours for free, no strings attached. It's 15 hours with a 433-page manual. It's a few years old now, but it's all still relevant, except the property cycles, obviously, where we are in the property market. But in terms of the fundamentals of how to structure, build, and automate your large property portfolio from scratch is as relevant as it was when I recorded a few years ago. So, by the way, jump onto that. That's yours for free. For some of you, if you want to work with me one-on-one, if you want me to help you build your wealth and your property portfolio, then definitely encourage you to book a strategy session with myself. So this is only for people who want to buy brand new, off the plan or completed townhouses in Melbourne's highest capital growth suburbs. I don't do any house and land. I don't do apartments. And I just do blue chip areas, buy and hold, never sell, blue chip tenants. So if that resonates with you, it doesn't resonate with everyone, but if it does resonate with you, book in a consultation with myself. It's 60 minutes. It's free, no strings attached. There's a bit of a waiting delay now because I'm just booked out usually a couple of weeks ahead. So just be patient. In the strategy session, basically, I'll go through your situation. I'll work out where you are, where you want to be, give you some feedback. Remember, guys, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And most people spend so much time and energy going from A to B and wasting so much time and doing all these things. And if you could just get someone to sit down with you and map out a plan to take you from A to B, you're going to save years of your life and potentially save tens of thousands of dollars and frustration as well. So it's a 1 hour personalized strategy session with myself, and you walk away with a real plan of what to do and what's possible for you. Plus, I'll give you an introduction to my whole team, so you get the best mortgage brokers, finance strategists, accountants, property solicitors, conveyancers, quantity surveyors, insurance brokers, property managers, financial planners, the whole works. Whether you want to do a self-managed super fund, buy property in your own name, I'll go through everything with you, and you walk away with not only a plan, I'll give you the contact details for people that can implement for you at the highest level. And these are the best legal and financial planning companies in Australia, by the way. They're independent of me. I'm small fish compared to them. So you get a whole team behind you, walk away with a strategy. The only thing you need to do is qualify for a minimum purchase of 700,000. I don't have anything less than 700. In fact, now I'm going to change this next time you see this and do 800,000, because even 700 now is impossible to get. So you need to be kind of on that 95, 100,000 income as an individual and have at least $112,000 in savings or equity. If you're a couple, you need to be kind of on that 140, 150 combined income, which means you can buy a property for at least 700, ideally 800,000. If it's less than that, I can't help you. For those who are interested, all you got to do is email me directly at conrad@investorsprime.com.au. There's the email address. If you come from an event, you've got this form, send me the form, and then I'll make a time that's mutually convenient. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I hope you enjoy the content. By the way, I mentioned before, they're the suburbs to focus on. What I would avoid at the moment is apartments in Melbourne. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. There's going to be a whole inquiry into construction of apartments. There's massive issues with strata. There's massive issues with the quality of builds. Basically, people have built a bunch of apartments in Melbourne and Sydney. They're all cracking and they have water coming into the car parks underground, and they're virtually unfixable because they are apartments, high density, and there's massive issues with valuations at the moment for apartments. So if you want to make money, don't touch apartments in Melbourne or Sydney, even in the best suburbs. There are exceptions to the rule, and I have done a YouTube video on this. So if you're buying apartments in Melbourne, you're going to go Art Deco, all with a large land component, courtyards, but nothing where there's a tower of 150 and you're buying some shoebox from Central Equity. It's a disaster. It's not going to have any capital growth. You'd be sitting on these properties for 10 years, paying $2,000 and $3,000 a year in strata fees and owners corporation fees, and then 10 years later, you're just handing the property back, and hopefully you get what you paid for 10 years ago. It's not going to make you wealthy. You might as well just buy crypto and, or shares or any other investment where you can actually make money, because apartments don't work. That's it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is Conrad Bobby Lake signing out. I'll see you on the inside.